We are
Oh yeah, we got to
live.
do the pew pew pew.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
something like that. All right, we are live. We are technically live at this point in time. Hello, Duncan.
Hello, Allie.
How are you today?
Oh, you know how I'm doing. We already did the whole friend checkup before we started this whole
I know.
episode. You know
So
what the state that I'm in.
we're half an hour late because we've already handled all of the niceties.
We were cutting it up already.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm trying to find a way to share this and then so you can fill in the empty space for 1 second.
Of course. Let me just pull out my new harmonica that I got.
No, well,
What? No? No harmonica? All
that
right, all right.
all right.
Sorry. So we were talking before we got on this live, and you were like, hold, please. I
Yep.
have things to say. And what we were talking about is my newfound love and appreciation for email marketing. I already know that it works. I already know the thing. Like, email the people, do the follow up, do good copywriting, and it will get them leaning in and coming back. Like, and I can teach that all day long, but sometimes you get in your way and you don't do the things that you know that you need to do. At least that's my personality, and I think that's the personality of a lot of business owners. It's hard to prioritize and focus on the things that you need to focus on, which is the benefit of one of the many benefits of having friends in the biz and mastermind groups that you can sit and get feedback from. And like, that was a big one for me, was our Thursday call where you guys were like, yeah, it doesn't matter how many sales calls you're on. Like, if you're not closing anybody and they don't trust you enough to buy something from you, maybe you should stop doing sales calls and do the things you need to do to build the trust. And it was like, well, yeah, duh. Like, yes, I should definitely do that. Thank you for telling me again that I need to, like, that's something that I need to do, even though I knew it. It just kind of like shook me out of my
Yeah. Yeah, I thought
wonder.
that was really important when we were talking to Ryan last week, and he said that because if you just keep doing the same thing and it's filling up all of your time and you're not doing what needs to be done in order to close that business, then what are you doing? Like
Yeah.
you have to have the full system.
Yeah, I like the analogy, the Donald Miller business is an airplane thing. And like, I've been kind of bringing myself back to that in trying to understand the roles that I'm in. It's like marketing and sales. They are the two wings of the airplane. And like, you can't fly without wings on an airplane. And there's other parts of the plane, obviously, but it's like my sales wing was fully, well, not fully, pretty built out, and like, I have the skills to sell and I can do it if somebody is already there, and like, don't mess it up. But my marketing was kind of like almost there, not really there. And
Mhm.
I still, it's never going to be completely built out, but it's much better now, and I'm already seeing the results from, we launched that email campaign 2 days, I don't know, a week ago, maybe, I don't know, 3 days ago, something like that. I can look, but it hasn't been that long, and we're already getting back on calls with people that otherwise we would not have gotten back on calls with. So
So moral of the story, email works. Allie's right about everything.
there it is. I was wondering, I was like, moral of the story, listen to Allie.
Listen to
And
Allie.
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I think we all get this tunnel vision that if I just do this one thing, and I just did a Facebook page review for somebody the other day, and they're like, how do I get them to my website to buy from my page like immediately? I want to make it so easy that they can just make a custom order directly from my Facebook page so that they don't get lost and so they can make the order. And I'm like, whoa. Like you get this narrow tunnel vision that the only thing I have to do is like put my website in front of them, or the only thing I need to do is put my offer in front of them. And I think that one of the most valuable lessons I learned especially about internet marketing, this is marketing in general, but especially about internet marketing, is it's all the pieces. It's you got to build the relationship. They have to know who you are. They have to get comfortable. They have to be thinking about you when they're not on the computer. You know what I mean? Like they walk away and they're like, I saw that thing the other day, and that really stuck with me. So I have this whole list of like 15 different like little mini courses that I want to buy. And the first one I'm going to buy is going to be about this 10-minute webinar because I can't get it out of my head. That's the one thing, like, oh, how to sell on a 10-minute webinar. And I'm like, that's good. Like, that's good. And there's a lot of good ones on there. There's like there's I thought it was a typo. It was like not a 9-word email, but it's like a 90-word email. And I'm like, did you add a 0 to that? Like
I think I saw
unintentionally
that
or
one.
intentionally?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I
Um,
saw it.
yeah. So I've got a couple like that. So there's definitely other ones there, but it's like you've got to be in their head. They have to feel like they have a connection with you. And what we were going to talk about when I said hold, let's go live, is you also have to have that element of kicking them off the fence and making it so that they have to make a decision now. Um, and well, they don't have to, but they're going to be hurting if they don't.
Yep.
So having that trigger, the Robert Cialdini, he's got like 7 or 8 triggers in his book. When I read originally Multiple Streams of Internet Income, there were 12 triggers in there. So I always assumed Cialdini had 12 triggers. But then I read his book and I'm like, where's like the other 4? there's
Mm-hmm.
there's like triggers that are not in that are not here. But all of those triggers help to push somebody off the fence. And the more triggers that you can use in a single towards a single prospect and in a single offer, the more likely you're going to be that somebody's going to take you up on the offer.
Yep.
So you were talking about, telling them that it's not that you're talking to other people in the area, and because you're talking to other people in the area, which is legit and true, it's not made up, it's not fake, but that's the thing that gets them thinking, oh crap, I'm going to miss out on this if I don't take them up on it. And then I can't make a decision later, because if Joe down the street makes a decision before me, then it could be years before I get my opportunity. And if it works for him, then he might put me out of business.
Yep.
Right. So now they have like this emotional reason to react, and they have a good reason to act and react.
Yep.
So I think that's a really fantastic thing that you're doing. But I would go back to the triggers and find, like, how can I stack up even more of them? There's
Yeah.
baby steps. I should grab my book. I know there's a really good list of them, and we've done a video on it before, that will hopefully be up on the YouTube channel at some point in the future, whenever we get everything up in the YouTube channel. But there's like baby steps, there's fear of missing out, giving gifts, baby steps, popularity, showing that you're popular, showing that you're credible, scarcity, I only have X amount, honesty, rapport. Rapport is something that you also build. That's that know, like, and trust, right?
Yep. Yep.
Urgency, act now or else, which scarcity is a form of urgency. Greed, fear of loss. So, the greed, sometimes that fear is a bigger trigger than gain, right? So somebody's more likely to lose weight once they've had a heart attack or they've been diagnosed with diabetes. That fear of what that's actually going to mean for them in their future motivates them more than, like, hey, don't you just want to feel good and run around and be active? And like, yeah, that sounds really great, but I also want a cheeseburger right now. But that fear is a much bigger motivation. So that's, again, your one action can have multiple triggers associated with it. So you've got the fear, sense of belonging, and curiosity, which curiosity is like my least favorite. And I know a lot of people like curiosity. Curiosity opens the door, but I'm not sure how much it kicks them off the fence. Urgency, fear of loss, scarcity,
Yeah, I
those are
think
kick
maybe
off the fence sort of
emotions.
strategies.
Yeah. I think maybe the curiosity is like, if you think about kicking them off a couple different fences, it's like some people aren't even, like, they're just immune to your marketing message because they get hit by it so many times by so many different people. And I'll give an example. I was on a call with a guy who is the GM of a location, and this was the second call with this business. The first call was with a sales guy. Sales guy was sold. He was like getting hit with our Facebook ads over and over and over, and he's like, if we could have our ads hitting our market the way that his are hitting me right now, like, we'll sell more. That's what convinced him. the GM was seeing all of those ads too, but he also was seeing all the other marketing agencies trying to target him because he's a decision maker. And really what like got him to actually get on a call was he was curious. Like he wasn't going to click on my ad because he's
Mhm.
like, I know what's going on there. But the sales guy was like, look, I did the first call with this guy. You got to see what they're doing. It's like
Mhm.
you just have to see it for yourself in order to understand it, because it doesn't look like what everybody else is doing. And he told me that. The guy was like, yeah, the only reason I'm on this call is because he piqued my curiosity. Like he told me that it was something I had to see. So
Right.
it's like it didn't kick him off the fence to buy,
Right.
but it kicked him off the fence to actually get on the call.
But that's really important what you just said. And again, when we talk about funnels and we talk about the sales process, it's not I found a prospect and then I'm making a sale. There's all of these steps in between. They have to care. They have to see that it's for them. They have to know, like, and trust you. They have to see the message multiple times. Again, we talk a lot about it. There's not a yes or a no. Rarely is it a yes or a no. 80% of the time, it's a maybe. Like 80% of your market, anybody listening to this, like 80% of your market is a maybe. If they are actually your customer, if you present them with a sales message, most of them are a maybe. And we tend to look at that and say 90% of people said no and only 10% of people said yes, or even lower, like 1% of people, depending on what your conversion rate is. um, and I see it as like, no, I've got a whole lot of maybes there, that it is my job to communicate to them and fill in all of those missing pieces that they need in order to get kicked off the fence. And it can be curiosity. It can be curiosity of a certain headline that finally gets them to open up an email, to finally see, oh, wait, she does have good, she does have good information. Maybe I should be paying attention to what she has there. It can be that headline or the email subject line actually does connect with a real problem that they're having, where the previous ones were not. It wasn't something that they identified with. So you've got 1,000 different prospects. They all have 1,000 different pain points. They all have 1,000 different problems. They all have 1,000 different ways of communicating that problem. And so the more you communicate and touch them through social media, through emails, through direct mail. I was listening to that Dan Kennedy Magnetic Marketing podcast again this morning, the second half of the Bill Glazer podcast, where he talks about outrageous marketing. And I just was like, I want to do direct mail so bad. Like they were doing postcard campaigns, but that's a whole nother touch. And there are people that they get touched 40 times and then they come in and buy. And there's some that will never ever buy from you. They just don't need it that bad, or they found somebody else, or they found it, whatever. But if you can send 9 emails, 13 emails. I sent a lot of emails in my campaigns. If you can send 13 emails and somebody is buying on that last day, that means that somebody else only sending 1 email left all of that money on the table.
Yep.
It
I
took
think
13 emails. We just did a campaign and we had like 80 or 90 people sign up. I still haven't counted. Probably sent 25 emails altogether. Had I only sent 1 email, let's say it's even just the 1 offer email, we would have gotten maybe 10 to 15. That was after all of this relationship building, right?
yeah.
So did all this relationship building and then just sent 1 email, I would have gotten about 10 to 15 new signups.
Hmm.
But because I continued to send emails, we had 80 to 90 signups.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that again was after all of this buildup and all of this relationship building.
Yep.
So that's, I think, what so many business owners miss. They think that there are people just sitting on their hands thinking, boy, I wish somebody would send me an ad right now so I could buy X. I mean, there's
Yep.
a few people that are thinking like, oh, I need X right now. Right
Mhm.
now, I need help with this one thing They see the right message in front of them, they're ready to buy right away. Vast majority of people, that is not the case.
Yeah.
And you got to stop treating your market as if they're all sitting there with a credit card and, oh, poor me, like only one of them gave me their credit card information out of the one email that I sent. Like it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I think in this sequence there are at least 15 over the course of the first, I want to say, month and a half or so. And it starts out a little bit more aggressive. It's like one every day for 3 to 5 days, and then it goes to 2 a week, and then it goes to 1 a week or whatever. So it kind of is our best stuff. It's like our 100%, this is our best case studies, examples, all that gets crammed into that short time frame, in addition to like weekly nurture emails as well. So there are a lot of emails going out to these people. And I guess the lesson for me is like, I already knew that it works, but how fast it's working is crazy. Like it's just crazy that it took this guy that's getting back. We got to tell a little bit of the story because it's insane. So 3 calls with different businesses in the same city. Our ads are set up to kind of do that. It's not super intentional, but it happens if there's interest in an area. It will pick up a few people in an area. And I got on calls back to back with 2 of them. I told them both, look, like I can only take one of you. It's the way it works in this industry. Got on another call the next day with their direct competitor and said the same thing to him, booked follow-up calls with all of them. And the third guy has been getting these emails. He got 2 emails. And the first one was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, here's an example of our thing in action. That's all it is. It's like, go to the website, take a look. The next one was our crazy example of leads that we got from $23 down to $6. That email got him to reply and say, hey, is there any way we can move our time up? Because he knows that there are other people looking at this and he wants it first. So he's like, we need to get on a call sooner so that I don't miss out. Right. I didn't even email him like, hey, how we doing on that? It wasn't like a follow-up. It was like literally him seeing the system in action, seeing multiple examples of us being legitimate, was like, yeah, we need to talk sooner rather than later because I don't want to miss out.
Yeah.
And there's another.
And what's happening on the back end, the other 2 guys haven't reached out, but the chances are high that you're in their head too, right? So, and that's the other thing, that just because you're not hearing from somebody doesn't mean you're not in their head. I've had people say, I've been watching you from the wings like for years. I've never seen their name before. I've never seen them interact with my content. I've never seen them comment on anything. I've never seen them before. And they're like, I've been following you for years. I'm ready. I'm signing up. Yep. Right. So this is a person that hasn't forgotten about me. We just had somebody re-sign up that was with us like 5 years ago. And she's like, I haven't forgotten how good your stuff is. And so when I decided to come back, I came back immediately to you. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening that we aren't seeing. And we tend to imagine that they're sitting there angry and upset and annoyed that we showed up in their inbox. But if you just imagine them being excited and leaning in and being intrigued, and that you're breaking down all those walls of resistance with every single email, because that's probably what you're doing. You might be annoying a handful of people, but they're not your market.
And I sorry to interject. It's related. I just got an email from someone that got that same email that said, hey, we're ready to start. Same exact email. It's like same second email in the sequence. I had a call with them 2 weeks ago and they've been on the fence, and literally it just came in. Like that was all the email said. It was a text actually. Hey, we're ready to start. Like, oh God.
Yeah, because all these sales calls you've had, they've not been like, no, you suck, I hate you. They've just, you know what I'm saying? Like they're just on the fence. They don't have a reason to push them off.
Yep.
And obviously that second email is pretty good. So like do more of those.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
There's another 13 in the sequence. So it's like, and they all are like that, right? It's like that one was about lead cost. The other ones are like, how does 12 appointments in 48 hours sound? It's like, and like, here's a video showing that happening, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's exciting. It's happening. It's like I'm like, oh, it's happening. But
Follow up, follow up, follow
yeah.
up, follow up. The money is in the follow up. Money's in the relationship, and the money's in the follow up. And you don't build a relationship without a follow up. I remember Caleb O'Dowd when he first came up with the mini group concept. And he's not the first one to do like challenges and things like that, but he was kind of, for him, the problem he was solving was people, if they feel like they know, like, and trust you, they buy much easier, right? That like, oh, hey, I know that guy. So if you're buying insurance and you have a friend that sells insurance, you're more likely to go to your friend because you know that guy, you know him, you like him, you trust him. So he was like, how do I, and you assume that they're the expert because you've been able to talk to him about it. So he was like, how do I create a relationship with a cold audience? How do I turn somebody from cold to, I love this guy, he's amazing, I want to buy from him immediately? Whatever he's selling, I trust him. He's the one who's going to take me there. It's like, how few interactions can we do, and how short a period of time can we accomplish that? So he played around with doing it for 3 days. He had, when I took his mini group, it was stretched over like 2.5 weeks. Like, it was like super long, as he was giving a video every other day. And ultimately he said it's 8 days. 8 days, 8 touches. Obviously the touches matter, that, the context of the touches. So he's doing it via video. He also did lives with his face, which Caleb rarely does, but he was willing to do it because he knew it would make him more money. And so he's like, 8 touches, and of me giving them a lot of value and building a relationship with them and doing a lot of the stuff. What is that called? I want to call it like NLP or whatever, but like that it's all the salesmanship, right? Like mimicking and treating
looping
somebody
and
like they're a friend, and then they
yep.
automatically feel like they're a friend. Like, you can instantly create a connection with somebody by just talking to them like you're already friends. So doing a lot of that kind of stuff in the videos, but he's like, within 8 days, if they were a person who's going to buy, like, they're biting at the bit to buy.
Yep.
So rather than taking 2 or 3 months over social media building up a relationship, he's like trying to condense it down, because he's not a social media guy, and he's not he is an email type person, but and then he's like, in video gets you there faster. So it's all about that relationship. And that's why the mini groups work so well for me, because within 8 days, I'm the person. I am the expert. I'm the one who has given them results. They see my face. They're using my jargon by the end, like they're talking the way that I talk. And it creates that environment where they're going to buy. And so for you, in your case, like, you've already talked to them twice on the phone, but now you add in those additional touches, and they're seeing your ads everywhere. And they've seen you at the event, at the trade show, that was the guy from the trade show. I'm seeing his ads everywhere. I've got even just, the act of scheduling the appointment. That's another touch. Now a call, and a second call, and 2 emails. That's 7 at least. I mean, that's assuming that there's not some other touches in there that's happening while they're still seeing your ads. Right. It just takes time. It takes time, and it takes being strategic. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm having a hard time with words today, Duncan. It takes time, and it takes intention.
It takes consistency.
Yes, and intention.
You've
got to be intentional about it. It can't be, oh, I'm sending a newsletter out once a week that is just not interesting, or doesn't build any. Like, you can I get plenty of emails from people that I end up unsubscribing from because there's no connection built, because the intention wasn't put into the emails to create that.
Yeah. I think that that's maybe why I can talk till I'm blue in the face to try and explain why it took me so long to pull the trigger on just like writing and sending these emails. But I feel like I knew they were going to work if I put the intention into them, and I almost felt like I wasn't ready for what was going to happen.
Mm.
And it was keeping me from even sitting down and writing them. Like I would sit down and start, and I'm like, yeah, this is a great start. I can't even think about this right now. Like I have to, I'll think about this tomorrow, you know? Um,
After all,
yeah,
tomorrow is another day.
yeah. And I was having to literally like put it off because I wasn't in the place to be able to like sit down and actually do it, if that makes sense. Not to get too
Mm.
like weird or meta. Um, but that's the kind of journey that I've been on recently is like how do I really understand who I am and like what gets me to actually oh god, that guy texted, how do we pay? God. Ah! Benjamin's gonna go close him right now. I was like, Benjamin, this guy wants it. Like, just go collect his card info. I don't care. Like, just figure it out. I don't know. But the it was like that's the journey that I'm on. How do I get myself to sit down and consistently put in the effort and do the work that I know makes things happen? Because I
Mhm,
every time I do, good things happen.
mhm.
It's not like I'm not understanding that that's how it works, but there's still some sort of block in there like keeping me from sitting down and being consistent about it, and like I just have to kind of figure out what that is.
Sometimes it's just easier to do the busy work, the
Yeah.
stuff that, like, just drops on your lap, and with hiring my kids and having them take over more and more of the busy work, sometimes I almost feel paralyzed with this open time that I have, and I'm like, What do I do if I don't have to cut reels out and make profits
Yeah.
calendar? And if I'm not the one doing what do I do? What am I supposed to do?
Mm,
And so I have spent a lot of time this last week doing a lot of things that I wouldn't normally do, but I was also getting stuck in research phase.
mm,
And as our personality tests, yours and mine, have shown that we like the research, but not so much like taking the action on the research. It's like I just want to read and test all the things and not actually do the things. So I've had to be really intentional about, okay, just do it. Just
mhm.
sign up for that and check it out. Who cares if it costs you $12? Like who cares if it costs you $50? Like you have to actually take the step and do it. But yeah, the work that actually brings you the money, the work on the marketing, like really creating the funnels and the follow-up sequences, that is some of the hardest work I think we do in our business, even as marketers, because it's still, and maybe there's probably people out there that doesn't bother him in the least bit, right? Maybe Benjamin's like, I don't care, I'll do the work. Like he does the work, he's really good at it.
Yep.
But like I think for me, there's a level of overthinking of like, it's got to be, if I'm going to put in the effort, it's got to be perfect. And if I
Yep.
don't make it perfect, then why am I doing it? So I'll wait until I can do it perfectly. And then there's the, what if I do it and it doesn't work? That comes up for me a lot. Like, what if I put all of this time into this and I do all of these things and then nothing? Like
Yeah.
like the mini groups were terrifying at first because I'm like, this is a lot of work to put in just to have nobody show up and nobody nobody wants the thing I'm selling. Like, what if they don't want the thing I'm selling?
Yeah.
Same with sales pages. Like I compare writing a sales page to giving birth. Like
Mm,
it's a very long and painful process. Um, and you don't know in the end how it's actually going, if it's going to work fantastic and your whole life is going to change, or if it's almost like the stakes are too high either way when you
yeah.
do that kind of work. Where if I'm just doing a PFP, my life doesn't change if I kind of messed up the PFP a little bit.
Yeah.
If I'm just publishing the calendars, if I all I'm doing is delivering on my product, then I'm not putting myself out there in a way where I could either change my life greatly for the better and oh my gosh, something crazy happened, or oh look, I did all of this work and nothing actually happened and now I've got a bigger challenge.
Yeah. I think that 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 triggered something in me. Like you saying, the thing that comes up for you a lot is, what if I do all this and then it doesn't work out? I think like I've always had a hard time separating my identity from the thing that I'm doing. Not to turn
Mm.
this into a therapy session, right? But
No, that's what we're
like,
here for.
yeah, this is what this
That
isn't
makes
for any of
that
our
makes for
viewers.
that makes for a much more fun
Yeah,
video.
yeah. So, like the first job, like actual job that I had was managing a pet store, and I got fired because the manager and I had a disagreement, and I was like managing the fish and reptile department, and that was like my whole life. I was like the animal guy, the fish and reptile guy, and that's what
Same.
everybody knew me as, and all my friends were there. I lived with a guy that worked there. He was the best man at my wedding eventually. It's like that
Mhm.
was my whole life. And I got fired for something dumb on my birthday. And it was just like
Aw.
crushed me, right? And it's like you shouldn't be crushed by something like that really, but it points to something deeper, I think, in um us as people. Like you attach your identity to like the people that you're around and the things that you do in your daily life, and it becomes kind of who you are. And I think in business, if it stays like that, you open yourself up to you're holding yourself back. Like you're too
Mhm.
attached to everything and
Mhm.
you're the bottleneck. And like I've been saying that to myself. I'll sit down and do something and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty clear that you are the bottleneck in this situation. So
Yep.
what do you need to do to either get better at whatever this is or remove yourself from the equation? It's like, is there somebody that you know right now that you could put in place that could do this better than you? Can you afford it? Fantastic. Even if they're not, uh, you know, 5-star A player, are they at least better than me? Are they removing the bottleneck? Let me
Mhm.
get out of the way, let them do it. And it's like chipping away little pieces of my identity that I was like holding on to. And it's like, oh yeah, that's not who I am. It's like I'm becoming someone else. And that person is like, I don't know, somebody that knows how to build a business and get out of the way as opposed to
Mhm.
like tying yourself to all the things. So
I think that for me, I've been able to remove myself from the identity of it a little bit more. I remember times where I would just get so upset and I'd be crying and I'd say, if I'm so smart, why can't I freaking do this? Right. Like there's all these things that I want to accomplish. And everybody, all my mentors would tell me that I've got a head for this. I'm like really smart about it. And I held on to that, right? Like I'm so smart, I can do this. And then the evidence kept coming back that you're not really getting, like, I'd have little wins enough to slowly starve me. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
those little wins that are like, okay, yes, I'm going in the right direction, but then it doesn't really go. I think for me now, the it's just that feeling of wasting time. I think I don't have as much identity wrapped up in it anymore as I used to, because I've had things that have worked really, really well. I know I can do things that work really, really well. It's more of like, I don't want to spend 2 weeks writing a sales letter just to realize that I did it wrong from the beginning. Like my entire concept was flawed from the very beginning. And I try to get over that by realizing, well, you wouldn't have learned that the concept was wrong unless you put in that work, right? So you don't know that that concept is wrong until you do it and you test it. Then you know, and you have data, and that can take you, in a different direction. Um, but it for me, it feels like, well, that was my only idea. And if I don't know if it's wrong, I don't know what else to do. And so that's where I get stuck, is I just don't, I want to try to pick the right idea first so that I'm not wasting my time and going in the wrong direction. But the truth is, you just can't know. You can have coaches and people in your life that say, "Yeah, that's all a great idea," and then you do it and it completely flops. Like even people who know can tell you that it's a great idea. Even good copywriters can say, "Yes, that's a great idea." I've had people say, "No, that's a terrible idea," and I do it anyhow and it works. So that's what gets me stuck, is just this, I don't want to waste my time. But the truth is that stalling and pushing it off is actually wasting time even longer, because I'm not going to really know until I have data, and I'm not going to get data until I do it. And if I keep pushing it off to where I never get the data, then I'm never going to know. And so I'm pushing it months and months and months into the future.
Yeah, I feel like I get some of that same thing. It's like I'm more prone to coming up with a ton of ideas and then never really deciding on one, even
Mm-hmm.
though I have a lot of good ones. And it's
Ideas is
like,
the fun part.
yeah, and like I don't want to attach my identity to an idea should it fail, right? Like I
Right.
get that same thing. Um, I just it's like how could I would be unstoppable if I had the bias for action that Benjamin does,
Mm-hmm.
like combined with the ideas and the this and that. It's like he's got both. It's like he has that, and like the cool thing with him is he will also see when somebody has a better idea. He's like, "Yeah, you have more experience than I do. Just tell me what to do and I'll go do it." So
Yep.
that's a great pair for me because I'm like, "Yeah, here's what I need to do. For some reason, I can't get out of my own way to do it. So here's the email sequence that I wrote. Plug it into high level and just like send it to everybody. I can't, like that's basically how that turned out. I was like, here, just send it. Don't tell me that you sent it. Like, I don't want to hear about it until it's actually working." And this guy texted us again and said, "How soon can we onboard?" 3 texts. He wants it so bad. This is crazy. But yeah, so it's the same thing for me. I think we're coming kind of from the same place of like, I don't know, just not making the choice because it's almost easier in the short term to not
Yeah.
make it,
In the
but it's
short term, it is easier to not make a choice.
bad in the long
And
term.
it's analysis paralysis. Like, well, what about this angle? And what about this angle? And have I thought about it from these 26 other perspectives? And being hyper aware that you're in a jar, like I know I'm in my jar. I know that I am only looking at it from my own perspective. And then I get the paradox of like, okay, I want somebody else to look at it, and they look at it. I'm like, yeah, but you're not in my industry. You don't know. Like, you don't know my audience. So like, who do I listen to? Do I listen to me, or do I listen to somebody outside, or how do I combine those two things? And yeah, it's a lot of overthinking. I created like an entire crazy calendar of promotions, for a year's worth calendar of promotions in my head last Friday night. Like, I came home, Willow and I had a meeting on Friday over Zoom, and she said one little thing. She said one little thing that sent me off on a tirade. But if I would have acted on that, I think I would have overcome. Like, if I was a real fast implementer, I didn't have enough time to think it through of how that's going to complicate my entire process, and how can I find elements of that that's going to work without like making a whole ton of work for me and my staff, and then complicating it for the audience. So I think there needs to be balance. You do need to think through what you're doing, and be intentional and have a plan, and kind of see how it fits in that whole ecosystem. But you can't get stuck in the intention and the plan and never take the action, because there are no perfect actions. I've renamed my programs like 3-4 times. I've changed from being a membership to being a low cost one-time fee, to being a higher cost one-time fee or micro continuity, to being a really high cost program, to being back down to a low cost membership. And all of it was necessary for me to be where I am right now. And you could say that all the early, iterations of this were the wrong choice, but it's how I got here.
Yep.
And it's just like being comfortable with that idea that you're going to make wrong choices, and you're going to do things. You're going to have emails that aren't going to work. Because right now you're stuck in okay, that email worked for these 2 people, but what if next week you hear nothing? And then the week after that, you get nothing from those 2 emails.
Yeah.
It can
That's
be
why I'm like
easy.
set it and forget it. And I do the same
Mhm.
thing with ads. It's like that sounds horrible, but the the method is set up a campaign with the best strategy to provide success, potential strategy for success. Launch it, and then don't look at it for at least a week. Don't even think about it. Don't touch it. Don't talk to anybody about it, and then look at it with fresh eyes at the end of the week, and you can actually judge it without your feelings and emotions getting in the way.
Mhm.
And I'm taking the same approach with the emails. It's like I'm trying to not get super excited about it because it's like that I know that's going to affect my ability to really judge whether or not it's working, what needs to change, what, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
But that's usually how I do it. It's like get out of the way and like let the system do its thing and then judge it based on that.
Yeah, I like to micromanage it. I know that you are correct. You have the right strategy. But when I set something new into motion, I would like want to put it under a microscope, and I want to see exactly every little thing that's happening because it's like an immediate feedback of what I did wrong and what I've done right. Like, okay, it's been shown 10 times now and we've gotten one click. So therefore that's the truth of it, right? And so that's good or it's bad, and I'll make changes based on that. So you have the right strategy. I just
don't want to do it.
yeah. If I set it for a week and forget it, I do actually forget it. I think I have ads running right now that I am unaware of, that probably should be dealt with, because I will just put them out there. Um, and I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting any results from them at all because I just forget it. Forget it.
Hmm. Well, you can't just forget it. Forget it. You gotta at least have some way to measure, track, and then optimize. But I don't know. I'm
I don't
like,
know. After a week, I'm not that interested anymore. I'm like, all right, I did that thing. If
yeah,
it
I
didn't
kind of,
work, I don't want to think about it anymore. Just move on. But I won't. But I don't turn it off.
yeah, you got to turn it off and then also evaluate why it didn't work so that you can maybe make it work. Like
Mm,
the reality is it didn't work for a very specific reason. It's like there is something to be learned from that, specifically from that failure, that can inform your next whatever. And like if you just leave it like, all right, let's try something else, it's like, great, but what and why and all the
I
other
think
W
I
words.
I think for me with ads, trying to figure out why they're not working is a challenge. I mean, there's some things like, okay, I know they're clicking, but they're not opting in, right? So there's a problem with the landing page. You got to look for the bottleneck. What's the thing that's turning them off? Um, it can't, for me, the challenge with ads is it the is it the image? Is it the text? Is it the offer? There are just a lot of variables there. Is it the audience? So you have all of these different things. So you've got you, for me, where I get stuck is that creativity to test different images, to test different text. And of course, Chat GPT makes that easier now that I can at least get ideas for different angles. But I've had things where it works better with just these words on the text. But you've got to be creative enough to think about different ways to approach the ads, and also creative with the audiences that you're picking as well. Are you letting Facebook pick the audience? Are you picking the audience? Was this the right audience to pick? And you don't know until you test it. But then, okay, the ad doesn't work. Was it the audience? Was it the image? Was it the text? Was it the offer?
How much time you got?
I know that's what I'm saying. That's
But there
that's
are
very
specific
overwhelming to me.
there are specific metrics that point to at least relatively one of those things being the problem. And that's why, the really sophisticated ad guys have like, now we're going to run a creative test where we run it for $5 and we see what the CPM is for the first $5 for these 20 images, and
Right.
no copy, no anything. And they say, this one got the best CPM. Great. Or these 5 got the best CPM. We're going to go with these. It's like, okay, that's our creative. Now we're going to test our copy. And they do it in stages to really diagnose it. I think we get to skip the line because we are not Facebook ad guys. We are marketers. Like, and I'm not
Mhm.
saying that Facebook ad guys aren't marketers, but they might not understand how everything clicks together like we do, having the benefit of also owning the business and talking directly to the customers. And, they're approaching it from a technical standpoint of trying to attack the problem with like a scientific testing, method step by step. And that works. But I think we get to skip the line drastically, just based on our experience and like knowledge of the business and copywriting experience. And like you get to kind of go farther ahead and you can look at an ad and say, okay, well, my CPMs are through the roof. Like my cost for 1,000 impressions is $50. Like the people that I'm targeting don't care about this. So there's a problem with my audience. It's like the right people aren't seeing it. They're not even slowing down to interact with it at all. So we are not showing it to the right people very clearly. Like that's top of funnel problem. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
great. Try a different audience. Same creative, same copy, because the copy's good because it's working to convert people already from your emails. It's like you already know
Right.
you're speaking to the problem that they're dealing with. You already know that the creative works to get people to engage because you posted on your page and you're the queen of organic content in the entire world. So like
But that's the
the
thing.
creative.
I'll find creative that I think like, wow, my audience really interacted with this. Like I've gotten a really great, they're commenting on it, they're asking for the link to join, and then I run it as an ad and it's like crickets. So it's got to be the audience, right?
Maybe.
That's what I'm saying. It's not just like
What's the goal of the ad? That's why I'm like, how much time you got, right? Because there are layers to this onion, right? So you run this as an ad. What does that really mean? What are you trying to get them to do? Are they going to a landing page? What's your click-through rate? Are you just trying to get them to engage with it and its brand awareness? Okay, then how are you judging that it did or didn't work? It's like there's so many like layers, and that's why when I approach it, it's like work backwards from the end result. So
mhm,
what are we trying to do? For us,
sure,
it's calls, right? Like I want to get somebody to book a call without ever speaking to me. And like I know what gets them on the call because I've spoken with people about it and I know the problem that we're solving for them. And like you're in the same position. You know the problem that you're solving for them. You have a ton of people that have said she has helped me solve this exact problem. My life is so much better now that I've signed on. And like and here's how you get the solution. Those are the pieces for that kind of like direct response, direct to a sale ad. And if I were to make it for you, that's exactly what I would do. It's like the same thing for us that we're doing for us, but for your audience, solving the problem, like direct to offer, direct to sale. But you also might have a different objective. And like if we ran that campaign, I would look at it and say, okay, if something went horribly wrong and people were clicking through to the landing page, but the landing page wasn't converting, we spent $100, $200, didn't get any results, but we got a ton of data. So many people came to this page. CPM is like bottom of the barrel.
but
Click
that
through
data
rate
doesn't
is
tell you if they get to that landing page, what about that landing page was not.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
So
So,
so it's like, yeah, there's a problem, but I'm not going to tell you how to fix it.
but you know where the problem is. It's like
That's fair.
that is invaluable, right? You paid $200 to know that you have a problem with your landing page. Like how much would you have had to pay somebody to like come in and consult to like, yeah, here's what I would do, and then maybe that would or wouldn't work.
Right.
Instead, we have a massive amount of people that came there and for some reason left without converting. So we know now 100% that we need to make some changes at this level of the funnel. And it's
Mhm.
like, great, I don't know what they are, neither do you. Let's try a couple different options. Do an A/B
But the
test.
problem could be that that audience needs to be warmed up before they're willing to make a purchase on that.
Sure, but are you targeting your warm audience? That's like all your Facebook followers and your list. And like, if that's the case, then the answer is no. They don't need to be warmed up because they're already warm. And like,
Right.
that you can get conversions
Fair.
from, it's like that's how you diagnose and
Okay,
solve these
Duncan.
problems,
Let me
right?
explain something. I need to explain something to you.
Hit me. I'm in.
Okay. So I crochet.
Hmm.
Not a lot. Just like my mom taught me when I was young. I crochet. I have crocheted many hats. You know why I crochet hats?
Hit
Because
me.
they're simple and they're fast and they're uncomplicated.
Hmm.
I just go around a circle a whole bunch of times and I tie it off at the end. There are people who make like full on amigurumi octopi, right? I am not a full-on amigurumi octopi creator. It would never get done. Like, there's so many moving parts to that, so many different things that I would have to do and figure out and blah blah blah. I've not even done a blanket. Blankets take too long. I've
That
done a
sounds like
couple
a huge
rugs.
project. Yeah, like a whole
I've done a couple
project.
of rugs, but I like that because it goes fast. And so I think that's when it comes to ads, it feels like an amigurumi octopus when I want to make hats. And I just want to do it and get it done.
Mm.
And I've done the testing before. So I've done it for the mini groups where I've tested a lot, and mostly what I tested audiences and I tested images. And a lot of images fell on their faces. I would say probably 70% of the images that I used just did not work at all.
Yep.
30% of the images worked. And of those, there's like 5 of them. I tested a lot of images. I used to buy images from my members. I'd say just upload, give me pictures of your table. And if I think that it's anywhere close to being something I can use, I'll buy it. I was like buying them for $5 a piece.
Mm.
And it comes down to like 3 to 5 images that consistently work the best out of everything. And then I tried all the audiences, and then I tried the what if I go just directly after soap people with soap images and jewelry people with jewelry images. And I think one of the reasons why I end up with a lot of crocheters in my group, one, it's really popular right now, but the crochet images are the ones that just work. Like I use an image with crochet in it. I do have one soap one, or like it's like a body butter sort of thing that works pretty well, but a lot of them are crochet. And it just works, and the people show up and they join. But man, it took me months and months and months and months and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And I remember one time doing a campaign, I spent $4,000, and I think I got maybe like 500 people in my group, which is not good numbers for me. I needed much better numbers than that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so then I'm like, okay, I did my big project. Now I have to do it again in an area where the visuals are not as clear,
let
right?
me
Like,
let me take that $4,000 example, right? So you spent 4K on a campaign. At what point did you realize that it was not producing the results that you wanted? And at that point, why did you continue running it?
no, that was all tests. Like I was killing stuff after 3 to 4 days if it was sometimes faster than that. If it was like really not getting any clicks at all and I just spent $10 to test this ad and it didn't even get me a single click, I would kill it. And then others would show very quickly, like getting lots of clicks on those. And so then I would duplicate and I would test another image, and then I would test another image, and I would test another image. So there was a lot of testing in that, but a lot of the testing was out of the desperation of the stuff I was using just stopped working. It just stopped. And so I have this event that's at a fixed time in the future,
And you're
and
trying to figure it out.
and
Yeah.
I've already dumped $2,000 into this,
Mm.
and it's not getting me anywhere because everything stopped working. And so then I'm just, it might not have even been $2,000 by the time I started playing with it. But then I'm like, I've got to find something here has got to work. And I remember I was like on vacation and I'm sitting there and I stayed in the hotel room all day long,
Yeah.
just testing new, like coming up
That's a
with new
nightmare.
angles
Yeah.
and new images and that sort of thing.
Well, here, let me give you a little bit of maybe hopefully some peace about potentially doing something like this. Again, you're in a completely different situation now because of the data that you have. Like
Mhm.
that's a huge asset in that testing that you don't have to figure out. It's like you got it. You have your audience, you have so much information that you can use to create retargeting audiences and what you've done that component of it, so you don't need to worry about that anymore. You've done your copywriting, like you've nailed that, even though you can always get better and you can
I don't
always
think I've
attack it.
nailed it. I don't think I've come close to nailing it, but I've
Well,
got some elements that I know work,
my
yes.
point is it's like you have your messaging down to the point that people are purchasing because of the things that you're saying. It's like that's email, right? It's like
Mhm.
the copy is the thing that gets them to move there, and there's no reason that it wouldn't also get the same audience to move on social media, for example. It's like, so that portion of it's done. It's like really all you got to figure out now is the creative, and it's not time bound. You're not like, I gotta throw everything I
Right.
can at this to make it
That's
work,
fair.
make or break for this event. It's like, you got $500, great. Like, let's run a test for a week with 10 different videos and 10 different pieces of creative. And if you could spend that $500 and be totally fine spending it learning where the problem is in the chain of getting somebody to buy, like, awesome. I would say 100% go for it, because it's worth it. It would be, in my mind, worth it to find a campaign that's a winner, and it would take a lot less money and time to find that winning campaign because of all that work that you've already done. And then you could have something that you could turn on and off and get sales without doing anything. It's
I
like,
know.
that's the dream, right? Like, that's like, oh my God, I can just put money in and people will buy on the back end. And I don't think it would be that difficult to get you there. And I'm saying this also knowing that I said I would help you with it. And now I'm also
Well, I
extremely
haven't sent
busy.
you anything because I'm not convinced my videos are gonna work.
I don't
I'm
know if they're going to work
entirely
either.
unconvinced by those videos.
You don't need to be convinced. It's like, it's not up to you, Allie. It's up to them.
No,
Like, that's,
but but I'm unconvinced.
but it doesn't matter. It's like, you don't need to be convinced. My GoPro video where I fumbled my words is the
But
one that
that's
is
good
working.
video. Mine's boring. Yours
Yeah,
is interesting.
it's a
It's
matter of
not that I think
perception,
it's
right?
unprofessional. I think it's uninteresting. I think it's
It's
boring.
it's a matter of perception. So like, what do you think would need to happen in order to make it interesting? It's like, what do you need?
I
Like,
know. That's a problem that is on my plate right now
yeah,
of
visual
what
hooks are
could I
good.
do to actually make the video
Yeah.
even a modicum interesting, because I think right now it's completely boring.
It can be
It's flat.
flat if you're just talking. So visual hooks are the one thing that everybody does now that are kind of like gimmicky, but they work. And I feel like if your audience doesn't really get hit with those, it would work even better. If you
Mhm,
like pop out of a pile of yarn and are like, hey, like, and you do your thing that you were going to do anyway, it's related to what they're interested in and something that they probably are familiar with, and then that's the hook that gets the video started, right? It's like, that's all you really need, is
I
like
could go to the
something to
craft
stop them.
store.
Oh, perfect. It's like, hey, do you make these, or like, do you use this to like make stuff that you sell at farmers markets? Awesome, I got something for you, right? It's like, uh, it's not too hard to make it interesting. I think
Mm,
that my point is like, it doesn't have to be interesting to run a test. If you run a test and you spend a couple $100 or even $100 and nobody is stopping to watch the video and you're not getting anything, you're like, great, let's turn that off. Clearly the video is not interesting enough. It's like,
mhm.
you can go back and forth on whether it would work, whether it wouldn't, but you literally just don't know right now.
I've
Is
had the
is my
to-do
point.
up on ClickUp to send you that stuff as overdue for, like, a month now. I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think it's any good. I don't," but I haven't deleted it because 'cause I'm like, "Nope,
Mm.
I'm supposed to send this, but I don't want to."
Yeah, go to the craft store, go to a farmer's market, like go to a show. Those are all great ideas. Them seeing you in the context of the thing. If you could go to a show where one of your people is vending that has
I would
seen
love that.
success, oh my
Yeah.
God. Like, I'd be like walking around like, yeah, so I help people like this sell more off their couch, and you do your whole spiel, and then you're like walking along and you're like this person. Go ahead and tell them what I did for you. And they're like, oh yeah, it was crazy, blah blah blah. They're like, yeah, so if you want to do that, dollar trial for a month, go try it out. What's there to lose? It's $1. Click the ad, try it out. It's like, perfect. That is a perfect video ad, direct sales for what you're doing. If I were to do it myself, that's probably what I would do. But not to say that you can't get it done sitting right where you are right now.
Yeah,
Just
I need
talking
to
to the camera.
find the people, at their shows, which means I just need to travel, I guess. I need to go to where, because there's
Oh,
not any.
boo
You know what
hoo.
my I know. You know what my dream is? My dream, the thing that would tell me that I have made it in this world, is to go to just a random craft fair and have somebody recognize me. Like, that is my goal. Whenever I go and nobody recognizes me, I'm like, "What the hell, guys?" Like, you should know who I am. Like, and not
Well,
because I just wanna, I feel like that's a signal of market saturation, that I could go to a show and not a local show where people here locally know who I am, but like I could go down to Columbus, or I could go somewhere a couple hours away, go to a show, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, you're Allie Thompson." That my life would be complete. I
The
would.
clear path to that is a consistent, regular advertising campaign in
You're right.
addition to all the other stuff that you're doing. That happened to me at this show that we were at. Obviously, it's a very different niche, smaller, probably potential group of people that we're advertising
You've
to.
talked to people specifically from that show already. Yeah.
Yeah, but I had somebody come up and was like, "Are you the guy with a shark shirt on Facebook?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." And they were like, he was like, "Yeah, I see you everywhere." And I'm like, "Yeah, because it's an ad. We're an advertising agency. Like, if I couldn't show up for you, what kind of marketing agency am I?" Right? It's like, but that's what it does. It's like I have people on calls that are like, "I have been seeing you for months, months." And I'm like,
Yep.
"Yeah, I know. That's the point. Like
Yep.
that's what we're doing.
That's
We're
what we were
trying to show
talking
up."
about earlier, right? Is just like showing up over and over and over and over and over and over and
Mhm.
so I don't need to be sold on the idea. Like I'm definitely don't need to be sold on ads. I mean, we've had this conversation. All right, how many times have we had the niche conversation before you niche down? So you got to give
I
me
don't know.
some
It
grace.
was only a year, right? It wasn't
It
that
was only
long.
a year. Um, like I'm totally sold. I think I need to sit down with Willow and have and have her help me come up with some ideas that I feel like I can do.
Yeah, you
Um,
just got to commit to the bit. It would be my only advice. It's like if you're gonna do it, just do it. Like just be the person that pops out of the yarn. Like
I don't think I'm the person that pops out of the yarn.
you need
I don't think
whatever
I
the
am.
bit is. Like pick
I know
it.
I need to find something that I can do though. I
Yeah,
agree.
I'm just giving an example, right? It's like when I wanted to run when I thought I was going to do this for contractors, that our niche was going to be general contractors. I was going to film a commercial. I had a date set to film a commercial in a house that was being remodeled where I jump through a piece of drywall. You cut it in the back and you like
Mhm.
explode through the drywall. That was going to be my ad. So like whatever it is, you just got to pick it, and it just
Right.
has to be related to whatever they're doing and
Well, and that
be
relates back to the podcast that I'm listening to about the outrageous marketing, right? And I don't remember if we talked about it on last week's video or not, but he talks about things like um, him in a straitjacket. He got a picture of him in a
Mhm.
straitjacket and wearing a Superman costume and busting out of a telephone booth. He said that was the hardest part of that whole bit was finding a telephone booth.
Yeah,
He had to go to a museum and get permission to come out of the telephone booth at the museum.
that's funny.
And then like pictures of him like in a prison uniform behind wrought iron bars and finding those connections. They were talking about on today's. It was like a real X-ray from a smile. This is an X-ray of a smile from our happy customers from that participated in whatever it was,
Mm.
and he actually sent them like X-ray film. So just getting out of that kind of, like, hey, and that's what I don't want it to be, and that's what I feel like the videos that I have are just so boilerplate, like, hey, are you having a problem selling your products online? Are you looking for the solution? Well, check out Handmade Sellers Club. Like it's just so boring. And I can say those words, but say it and do it in a more interesting way.
Sure.
Um, and
I
and make it more
understand.
visually appealing and just more interesting. I don't want to be I don't want it to be boring.
I understand that you feel like mine is better in some way. The only difference, I am saying those same boring words, and I
I know, but
feel
you've got
the
the
exact.
GoPro in the environment with a
That's
shark
the
shirt.
that's the only difference.
I But that's a huge difference,
No, not
right?
really. Like, what would it
It
take for you to
is.
go walk to get a GoPro and go to a farmer's market this weekend? It's really my point is the barrier to entry is a
I know,
lot
and
lower
and
than
I
I
agree.
think
The
you
barrier of
think it
entry
is.
is very, very low. I
Yeah.
just need a plan.
Yep.
I just need a plan. I need to
Better than a plan, I think you just need to take action.
no, I
Jenga.
need to think about it for another
Jenga.
6 months
No, don't
and
think
go
about
through
it.
all the pros and cons and
Ugh,
all of the different angles,
no,
and then maybe I'll be ready to buy a GoPro.
no. I'll send you I will send you my GoPro. You can
I,
have it.
no, I want my own GoPro.
I'll gift it to
No,
you.
no. First of all, I don't believe you're going to send me shit because you have had a box that has been supposed to be sent to me for a year
I'm
now.
sorry. I'm
And when I
sorry.
gave you all those books in Miami and said, "Will you send these to me?" and you said, "Sure," I thought as I handed them over, will probably never see these again.
You know why? I
Why?
it's my my Colby assessment type. I just have no follow through. I don't know what to tell you, Allie. I can't do it. Um I can actually see the box from where I'm sitting.
That's a good place for it to be.
And
Is
every time I see it, I'm like, oh crap, I gotta send that to Allie. And I say that every time I sit down at my desk. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong
I
with me as
have
my
the same
answer.
thing. You know what it is? It's just it's easier to not do it than to do it. And because I'm
Yeah.
not angry with you, I'm just disappointed. And because I still be your friend, even though
Ow.
it gnaws at me when I'm go to bed at night. I'm like,
My heart.
it's still
You're
you.
not mad, you're just disappointed. Oh, brought me back to my childhood. Oh, I'm
If
gonna go
that's what it
read Gone
takes
with the
for
Wind
you
or
to pick
something.
up that box and go to the post office, then I am very disappointed, Duncan.
That's what it took for me to write this email sequence and give it to Benjamin. I was like, someone has to make me feel bad that I'm not doing it. Like that is literally what I
I
need,
will volunteer for that.
and it has to be like you're guilt tripping me into doing this thing, because if I feel like our friendship is in jeopardy, or like your perception of me as a person is going down, I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I'm
Are you
sorry.
even a marketer?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I'm just gonna first thing I'm gonna ship back to you is my greatest marketer of all time mug. Like I'm gonna ship that first and then the box. And yeah. So funny. People are weird. Like we're
Yep.
people and people are just weird.
No, I do the same kind of stuff though. I'll have things sitting around for forever that I intend to ship or send off to somebody. Shipping is the worst thing for me. I hate it. Tim always took care of shipping when we had the rabbit toy business. Well, I did it for a long time and then I'm like, I hate this so much. I've got to show you how to do it. And now it's worse when it's just like a thing.
Mm.
I just have to send a thing, which means I have to disrupt my entire life to ship this one thing. So that's getting sent over to Sage.
Mm.
So Sage is going to we have this idea that we want to do Shark of the Week
Nice.
where we write a note and send it to them. And I want me to be the one to write a note, but I need somebody to set the note in front of me. I write it and then I just hand it back and they get it off into the mail. Like if it's up to me to pull out the card in the envelope, find the person, write the note to the person, go find their address, put their address on there, put a stamp on it,
Mm.
and get it to the post office box, it's never going to happen. Like I'll
Same.
have a stack of them that I intended to send like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So that's with having a team that it's making a big difference. But I'm the same way. That's how I know that I'll never get that box.
I will send it. I won't
When,
exactly. I'm not gonna
when.
give you any false expectations.
No.
I'm gonna-
I will send it, but I'm not going to commit to that because I would be raising your hopes
yeah.
and in a false manner.
Well, the problem with it is it's
You see what
heavy, and
happens,
I
right?
have to go to the post office and get
Mhm.
a box and like packing peanuts and shit. It's not just like I
That's what
can put it in
I
the
know. It's
mailbox,
the whole thing.
It's a
I
whole thing.
understand.
I work from home now. I haven't left. I literally have not left my house in a week. Today was the first time. We had a doctor's appointment for my very pregnant wife. That was the first time in about a week that I've even left the house and like put on pants. I'm not wearing pants now. So like what I'm saying is the next time I put on pants and I go to the post, or I go leave the house, I will take the box with me. And then
You
hopefully
need
I
to
will go to the
set the
post office.
box outside of your office and in Mariah's way.
That's just evil. Then she'll make me do
No,
it.
no, it's not because you wouldn't want to do that to your wife, would you? You
No.
would not want to do that. You would
Mm-mm.
not want to you would not want to have her ask you 26 times,
Yep.
when are you going to move this box? And so you'll take care of it.
That is the right
You're
way to
not
do it.
allowed to have the box in your office anymore. It's got to go out into the public living area.
That's a good idea. I actually that will make it get sent sooner rather than later. even if she
Sooner.
has to do
What
it.
does sooner mean, Duncan? What do you mean by sooner?
The next 60 to 90 business days. I don't know. I don't know. I'm having a baby, Allie.
If I had a nickel for every time you're like, no, I'm going to mail that box out. Like I'm, what's your address? I'm going to mail the box out.
You know what's crazy? I put it in my van at one point, and I was like,
Dude, there's no excuse. No, it needs to go in the passenger seat of your van.
It was in my van.
And you need to buckle it in every time you drive.
You know what's worse? When it was in my van, I definitely went to the post office and shipped something for Mariah. Like 100% I did that. And then I saw it in there and I was like, wow, what is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with me? I can't even believe that that's still in here. I was at the post office like last week. So that happened. But I also, do you remember when I helped you guys pack and move? Did I ever tell you that you guys gave me a squash? Do you remember that? You gave me a squash.
Was it a butternut squash?
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
Do you know where and when I found that butternut squash? Probably a month and a half later, cleaning out my van. And I was like, why is there a squash in here? And it was like tucked behind the shelf in there. I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, why is there a squash in here? And I couldn't remember. And then I was like, Allie Thompson and her family gifted me this squash. This was their going away present to me. I can't believe I forgot it.
Thank you for helping us pack. This is your butternut squash now.
Yes, I appreciated it.
Do you know
Clearly
what lives rent-free in my head? Now that you've mentioned about the packing and the moving, you know what lives rent-free in my head consistently?
What?
It was when I handed you, or I brought out the my artificial little trees, and Tim was like, we should just throw them away, and I'm like, no, these are mine and I like them and I want to keep them. And you said, like, with a stone cold face, you were like, Allie, I gotta tell you, I agree with Tim, you should just put these out. Every time I look at those trees, they're here in my office. Every time I look at them, I think about that, because I remember I didn't know what you were going to say, and I'm like, what? And then you said it, and I'm like, what? And then you started laughing, and I was so angry.
I still feel the same way. I was like, I can't believe you have these fake plants, Allie. I was just on your porch helping you pack all these amazing, like, living plants, and we're in Florida, and you have fake plants in your house. Like, what is happening here?
First of all, every live plant was outside, because it's cruelty to a plant to put it inside.
That's where plants belong. I agree.
That's where plants belong. But when we moved into the house, those fake plants were there, and so I could have greenery in the house without being cruel to the plants. And I have them here with me today.
You had a free excuse to chuck the plants. It was like I didn't
want an excuse. I wanted to keep the plants.
They're not even yours. They were here from the old, like, great, let's just put them by the curb.
The hell, they ain't mine. I bought everything in that house, including those plants, and they came back with me.
I get it. Like, I just think fake plants are silly, and like, I've taken a stance on it. I don't take a lot of hard stances, so I'm like, this is the hill I'm going to die on. Fake plants are lame. Real plants are cool. Sorry.
I generally agree with you. Ask me how many other fake plants I have.
None?
0. I have 0 other fake plants, but these do work nicely for adding the greenery in areas where I don't have sunlight. Technically in here, I do have sunlight. I could replace them with something, but they have the height to it already. So then I'm going to have to either like spend a lot of money on something that has height to it and a small pot, because that's the other thing. They fit like in these nice tight little corners. So I have considered buying fake plants since then, simply because I was like, I can shove it in a corner that a real plant would never be happy about. But they are the only fake plants I have. But I think about that every time. I think about that day, and I think about you saying that to me, and the amount of arguments that I had with Tim about those plants. And then for you, like, how many times he said, you just should throw away those plants. Like, oh, we're having a garage sale, you should just sell those plants. And I'm like, no, I want to keep the plants. They're like $50 a piece. Like, they still had the price tag on them. They were like $50-$60 a piece.
Mm.
And I'm like, no, they're nice for like my office to add green. And like I was dying on that hill, and then you show up. You're like, I really agree with Tim.
Well, I agree with you about everything else. It's like, what are the pillars of a good friendship, right? You need common interests, right? You have to have like things that you have in common that you like. You have to enjoy spending time with each other. It's like
Mm.
check. And there needs to be a little drama. If there's no drama,
That
it's
is my
boring,
drama. I will
right?
never forgive you.
That's fine. I feel like if our friendship didn't have one of those things, it wouldn't be as good of a friendship. We need some sort of contentious issue to like bump heads about,
Well,
or
I've been
else,
holding on
yeah.
to it for a year now.
I'm glad that we're having this discussion. It's
Yes,
important that we brought this up
and
now.
I've been thinking about, even like this week and last week, I was like, I need to tell Duncan, like how upsetting that was to me.
I am not sorry that I said it. I still think you should throw them away, Allie. I am so sorry that I'm saying it now, but I'm not sorry that I said it then.
But they're my look. If I do, hold on. If I remove you, look. See this green
They're
spikiness?
so nice. Wow.
How would I replicate that if I did not have those plants?
I feel like your life would be better if you didn't have them.
I'd have big open empty spots on both sides of my bookcase if I didn't have them.
Yeah, endless possibility for things you could put there instead of just another space filler, you know? Like, what if you had more books?
Or how about I use those space fillers?
True.
That I already have.
Good point. You got me there. I'm just arguing to argue at this point. Like, I don't care about the plants.
I know you don't. I know you don't. That's the whole point.
I didn't even care then.
I know you didn't. Like, that's my whole point.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
just like that.
What a silly thing to even say. Yeah, I know.
If you're like, I'm sure you have burned me on things before, but that was the one that burnt.
That was it hurt you to the
That
core.
was the one, because I'm like, you know how much I have defended these plants over the last 3 years, and then you just waltz in here and say, I agree with Tim. I think you should toss those plants. Like it threw me off so bad.
I'm sorry.
Like I remember you saying it, and I just like I had a blank look on my face. Like I couldn't believe you said the words. I just couldn't believe you did it.
I should know better than to inject myself into a very clear, regular marital argument, because I have those too. Like, I'm the throwaway guy in my relationship as well. I'm like, you know what I make per hour? I've said that before, and I've been like, Duncan, don't ever say that again. That is the worst thing that's ever come out of your mouth. But it's like what I'm saying is, how, like, weigh the time versus the value of the thing, right? It's going to take me 2 hours out of my way to like pack up all this stuff, go to the place, donate the stuff. If I carry it to the curb, that is going to be 10 minutes of my time. And how much would I have to pay myself or someone like me to like go take it to wherever the donation place? It's like, is it worth that?
Yeah,
Or should I just throw it away?
And it is a pain to do just about anything in Florida.
Yeah,
it's pretty easy here.
That's where it came from. That's
and
where
I generally am the get rid of person. Like I can get rid of just about anything. I didn't used to. It was a shift. I had a shift. And now I can get rid of just about anything. And usually it's Tim saying, no, there's a use for that. No. And the one thing I want to keep, my couple of little plants that I feel like these are my little plants that I can keep, that I didn't have to go. I would never go out and buy plants like that. But I like them and I want to keep them. The one thing that Allie wants to keep, Duncan's like, no, I think you really should throw those out.
You know what would be really, I'm actually not going to say.
And my husband said to throw them out. When he literally will have like holes in his socks and his underwear, and he cannot throw it out. Mm-hmm. But no, I should throw out these $100 worth of plants.
Yeah, I'm not going to give it away. I was about to say, you know, it would be funny. Instead, I'm just going to do it. But I'll give you a hint. Just be prepared for a large package in the mail.
I don't believe you. I don't think it will ever get shipped.
No, it's not going to be that box. It's going to be something else that just really puts a nice ribbon on all of this. I'll just leave you with that. I need to go because my wife is leaving soon.
I need to go because I have to pee.
You have to pee? Okay, I also have to
No.
pee. Let's get out of here.
Okay.
How do we
It was
wrap this up? Just
uh
bye?
yeah, it was nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you, Allie, and I can't wait for next Thursday. Who knows? Maybe I'll have a newborn on that call.
You're that close.
Yeah,
But
10,
yeah,
10 days, something like
yeah.
that.
Who knows? You might not be here
What do you
because
mean?
well,
I
you're
wouldn't
gonna
miss
go
this
live
for the
from
world.
the hospital room?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I don't think so.
You can still send me the StreamYard link, right? I got these headphones. I'll bring them to the hospital. It's fine. I'll live stream the whole birth. Don't tell my wife.
I'm telling her now. All right. Thank you, Duncan.
Thanks, Allie.
Bye.
Bye.